Hi, and welcome to Running on Carbs podcast. This is episode number 47 of the podcast. And as always, I am your host, Coach Val, and I would like to welcome you to our episode today. Today is another spotlight series. And so we are going to be talking about a new food that I like to do once a month, spotlight a super healthy food that's great for women in their 40s, but also for runners who are looking for performance through nutrition. So today we are going to spotlight arugula. Yeah, arugula. This actually comes to us from a request, and just someone, listener of the podcast, was interested in hearing more about this leafy green vegetable and whether or not it's something that they should incorporate into their active lifestyle, and just really wanted to know more about it. So I thought, what a great idea. Let's talk about arugula. Now, last episode that we did on our Spotlight series, we talked about kale, which is yet another leafy green vegetable that is super high powered in nutrients and great for runners. But I thought it was good to do a comparison and to have another leafy green on right away because it shows the diversity of leafy greens and the importance of incorporating a variety into your diet, because both kale and arugula, although there's some crossover and even some crossover in their plant family, they also have different nutrient makeups and they affect the body differently. So, for an example, kale might be a little more difficult for people to digest. It's a little heartier. It'll keep a little bit longer in your refrigerator, but you really have to massage it or steam it well or cook it well. It's hard to eat raw kale if you aren't used to it. And even if you do, sometimes you have to eat it in smaller portions so that it doesn't negatively affect your GI system. Whereas arugula is easier to digest, and you probably could eat it a little more often. You don't have to cook it. As a matter of fact, we're going to get into some cooking options for arugula later in the episode. But it's consumed differently from kale. And so it's good to have a variety in your diet. And it's good to incorporate these different types of leafy greens at different times. So let's jump into it. But before we do, I want to remind you that there's a couple of free downloads that I have available that I think go very well with these episodes, especially if you're very focused on nutrition. I want to help you organize that to the best of my ability. So I have a free weekly meal planning download that you can download for free. The link is in the show notes if you're interested. It's also in my link tree. So if you have my link tree, you can just go there for all the downloads. But pair that with my ebook on meals that move you, because meals that move you goes into 10 different essential meal prep tips. So if you use the ebook, which is free, if you download the PDF version, you can also get it on Kindle Unlimited or just buy it on Kindle for a couple bucks. Whatever way you consume ebooks, it is available for you. But if you use the ebook together with the weekly meal planner, they make a really great duo. So I would recommend download both of them. They're both free. So take advantage of it. That's why I put it out there for you. Okay, so let us dive into arugula. Let's start with nutritional overview of arugula. And what is it? So arugula is a cruciferous vegetable, and it's part of the Brassicaceae family. Um, and it's closely related to broccoli, for example, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. It's in that sort of cruciferous kind of family, or cruciferous family. It has a real crisp, peppery flavor. And it's one of those greens that the fresher you get it, the spicier it is. So I have not had it out of someone's garden, but I have a friend who has whose mom has a garden and she grows arugula. And she was telling me recently that when she goes home and she gets the arugula out of her mom's garden, she can really only have a small amount because it is so spicy and strong. So you might have experienced this as well. So the fresher you get it, the spicier that green is. By the time it gets to the grocery store, especially if you're buying the packaged arugula that comes in the plastic wrap, you are getting, still fresh arugula, but it's not the same. And not to mention, they grow that arugula differently than you would in a home garden. So the taste and spicy level of arugula is going to be different depending on the source of the food itself. So something to keep in mind. But it is a very powerful protector against heart disease, according to a 2008 study on green leafy vegetables. Likely, it's due to the high nitrate levels, which gives it the heart protection qualities. So it is not just a tasty food; it's a very protective food as well. Also, with any vegetable that has like a spice to it or something strong, it oftentimes has that protective quality about it in its nutrient makeup. And that has to do with the body biochemicals and the biochemicals in the food that make up that strong flavor, if you will. Um, they work together and it makes the body stronger. So flavor when it comes to that, so flavors like onions, garlics, things like that, very protective qualities, and arugula kind of falls into that same category. Uh, let's talk a little bit about the nutrient breakdown of arugula. I took a larger amount because if you're unfamiliar with arugula, it's very delicate leaves, pretty small, with a light stem. So it's not like kale, where kale comes on a big stocky stem. Arugula has a very small stem. You can easily eat it like you can baby spinach if you're more familiar with baby spinach. But it's very sensitive and delicate. And so you can pack a lot in when it comes to a measuring cup. So I went with 100 grams of arugula to base this nutrition value on. And that equates to roughly 5 cups of arugula. Um, Again, since arugula is so fine, 5 cups of it is kind of a lot, but if you can spread that out over your day through salads, toppings on top of other meals, things like that, you could get 5 cups pretty easily. When you're spreading it out, you don't necessarily have to consume it all at the same time to get all of the nutrients. So, this is based on 100 grams of arugula. There's 25 calories in 5 cups of arugula. So if you want to make a whole salad of arugula, or two, like one at dinner, one at lunch, maybe a side salad, split them up, you're getting a whopping 25 calories from it. So this is not a high caloric food. It's not something that you're going to eat and base your run on. 25 calories is not enough to do that, but it is a nice low calorie, high nutrient density food. As far as fat is concerned, there's less than a gram of fat. It is a leafy green, so I'm not too surprised at that. There's 4 grams of carbohydrates, so pretty low carb, 2 grams of fiber in that 5 cups, and about 3 grams of protein. So everyone's always asking us vegans and plant-based individuals, where do you get your protein? And all you have to say is my plants. I get my protein from plants. There's 3 grams of protein in my salad. So, and that's just the arugula alone. So it's a very good nutrient dense food. As far as electrolytes are concerned, it's a good electrolyte food as well. There's 27 milligrams of sodium in that 100 grams of arugula. There's 160 milligrams of calcium and 369 milligrams of potassium. Now, on the iron level, it's not considered a high iron food. However, it's still a leafy green, and there's a 1.5 milligrams of iron in that 100 grams of arugula. So that is not bad, especially when you're using this as an overall healthy diet, within an overall healthy diet. Now, if you listen to the kale episode, we talked a lot about oxalates in greens and leafy greens. Arugula is actually less less oh my goodness, less oxalates than kale. So if you recall from that episode, spinach was really high, whereas kale was very low, considerably lower. And now arugula is even less than that. So if you are concerned about high oxalate food, if you have, kidney issues that you need to be concerned about high oxalates, then arugula might be a better option for you when it comes to leafy greens. Again, if you do have these issues, always double check with your dietitian or your doctor to make sure that you're consuming these in the right amounts for you and your health condition. So, how is arugula unique? Let's talk about some of the unique qualities about it. Glucosinates are the first thing that come to mind when it comes to arugula. They are natural compounds found in cruciferous plants like the cabbage and the broccoli and the mustard that give them that pungent flavor. So this is where I was going earlier about that flavor. It's the glucosinates that actually give it that pungency. And think also like about horseradish and like I said, mustard, very unique flavors. The glucosinates actually might have a protective effect against cancer when they're consumed as part of a cruciferous-rich diet. And when I say cruciferous-rich diet, I mean that you are getting lots of different varieties of cruciferous vegetables in your diet. Through different mechanisms and different routes, glucosinates not only provide us with the protection against cancer, but are also able to kill the cancerous cells. In addition to the anti-cancer activities, they're also found that glucosinates have an anti-inflammatory effect. So for runners, of course, that anti-inflammatory effects are very important to us because the sooner we can reduce the inflammation in our bodies, the sooner we can get back to training at our maximum capacity. They're also anti-diabetic and lipid-lowering properties, among other things. So if you are concerned about diabetes in your family and you're trying to ward that off through a plant-based diet, then anything with the glucosinates are going to be beneficial, but arugula is one of those. As well as if you're concerned about cholesterol levels, incorporating more arugula into your diet can be helpful. Of course, whenever I talk about things that have studies related to them, I always put the links to those sources in the show notes. So if you want to investigate any of that further, go to the show notes and look there for the links. So what are some of the specific health benefits of arugula? Let's break them down a little farther than just the macronutrients. First off, we have to talk about nitrates. Arugula is rich in dietary nitrates, and the body takes those nitrates and converts them into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps to improve blood flow and oxygen delivery to the muscles during exercise. So obviously that's really important for us runners and athletic individuals. Potentially, it enhances the performance it's a potential. I don't know how many studies have been done on that, but it enhances performance through reducing that oxygen cost of exercise. And there's actually 18 times more nitrates in arugula than there are in kale. So again, making a bit of that comparison, not to say, oh, switch from kale over to arugula, but incorporate both at different times to have that variety. Iron. So, as a leafy green, arugula, as we just talked about, provides iron, 1.5 milligrams per 100 grams of arugula. It's crucial, obviously, for runners because it helps form hemoglobin, and that is what carries the oxygen to the muscles. Endurance athletes, especially female runners, we often need to pay more attention to our iron intake. We're more susceptible to anemia than our male counterparts. So it's something for us to consider and to make sure that we are getting the appropriate levels of iron. Iron, on a side note here, iron is one of those minerals that we have to be careful of because too much or too little can actually show up in the same symptoms. So if you have too much iron in your blood, it's circulating in your blood, you could have the same sort of side effect feelings like the tiredness, lethargy, brain fog, all of those symptoms as if you had low iron. So if you just go out and start supplementing iron because you're having these symptoms, you could actually be causing yourself more harm. So if you have any of these types of symptoms, it's definitely a good idea to get your blood work done. At minimum, have your blood work done once a year just to see what your baseline levels are and make sure everything is in tracking properly. Because if you have too much iron and then you supplement thinking you're low on iron, you could actually be compounding the problem and making it worse. And having iron levels that are too high can have their own medical issues. So just make sure that you're not supplementing before you actually have knowledge of what it is you need. So you want hard facts before you start adding in supplements. But on the other hand, if you know that you are low on iron and that's been diagnosed and you know that you have to keep your iron levels up, this is a great option to incorporate more leafy greens, including arugula. It's also high in antioxidants, and antioxidants are, again, those cancer-fighting properties, but they're overall general, healing properties for the insides of our body. So vitamin C, vitamin K, various antioxidant compounds, all of those can help combat the exercise-induced oxidative stress that occurs from exercise. So our bodies, they kind of rust, so to speak, from the inside out as we age, as we put more strain on our body. So we want to make sure that we're getting the proper antioxidants in our body to help combat that oxidative stress that naturally occurs. It also helps to support us in recovery after our long training sessions. We absolutely have to have good recovery after those sessions so that we can come back stronger the next time. The electrolytes that are found in arugula are the ones you might expect: calcium, magnesium. These minerals, of course, help to support bone health. Again, for us ladies, so important, especially if you are in perimenopause or menopause, or anywhere over 30. We really need to focus on making sure we have the proper electrolytes in our system, including that calcium and magnesium. Very important for runners. We're putting repeated stress on our bodies over and over and over again. That we really need to make sure that skeletal system can support the activity that we're asking our bodies to do. Arugula, as I mentioned earlier, is very low in calories. So only 25 calories for 5 cups of arugula. So it's one of those things that you can eat in pretty good amounts, and not you'll get the fiber. Obviously, you've got 2 grams of fiber in there, so it can be somewhat filling just because of the amount that you're able to eat for such low quality or low calories. But it's really high density nutrition, as we've just kind of gone through here, with all of the other nutritional benefits that you gain from that low number of calories. So, not a high calorie food, you can't live on it. You wouldn't want to just survive just on arugula, but it's a great counterpart. And if you are kind of watching your weight, maybe between not hard sessions, but between hard training plans, and you're in a downtime, maybe you don't need the same amount of calories as you would if you are in a harder training zone. Maybe you're training for a marathon and then you're done with the marathon, you've recovered, and now you're in an off season. Adding more leafy greens instead of pastas could help keep that weight in check until your next training plan kicks in which case, of course, you'll adjust your nutrition to meet the demands of your training. Uh, Maximize health benefit through timing. So, when would you eat arugula if you wanted to maximize that health benefit? Pre workout, you want to get the nitrate boost, right? That you're looking for from, things like we've talked about beets in the past for nitrates. That's my favorite. That's what I go to before any run or exercise bout. Is I love to have beets to help with that nitrate boost. I don't like beet juice or anything. I actually eat the beets. So in this case, you can eat arugula. Uh, and you want to consume it about 2 or 3 hours before. The amount of fiber isn't, so high that should cause any GI distress. But of course, always test things out. If you've never eaten arugula before, run before, and you want to try a salad, or to put, a large amount on your pasta or something, or you want to make a pesto, test it out ahead of time just to make sure it agrees with your body before you go far away from your house and on a run. That's just generally good idea. So 2 to 3 hours before your run to get the maximum nitrate boost from arugula. For post-workout, you can eat arugula for the recovery that it offers. So antioxidants and electrolyte replenishment. And ways you can do that is you can add the arugula to your post-run salad if you have a nice big salad that you like to make. Or if you like to make a smoothie, if you're more of a smoothie person, instead of spinach, use arugula. So put it in your smoothies, and especially during the real hard training sessions where you need that extra antioxidant boost afterward, that's a really good time to incorporate that. I'm personally not a big smoothie person, but I know smoothies are really popular. So if you are a smoothie person, that would be a nice swap for you. So let's talk about what cooking options will be. As I mentioned earlier, arugula is a very delicate plant. So we don't want to overdo it. It's definitely not something you want to boil. So, number one, don't boil arugula because you're pretty much wasting your stomach space with that. It is best consumed raw. So the salads are really the best and easiest option for consuming arugula in your diet. Add it to a salad, mix it up with your other leafy greens to get that real good boost from it. The vitamin C is very heat sensitive. So that's again why you don't want to boil it. And you don't want to cook arugula at a very high heat either for that same reason, because we want to protect that vitamin C in the food. So lower heat is better, like steaming or very lightly sauteing. That is going to help it maintain the highest nutrient balance, as opposed to these higher heat options that's just going to wipe it out. Also avoid microwave. So microwave again is just as bad as boiling. It will destroy the glucosinates and the other health promoting compounds, like I said, the vitamin C also. For some options for cooking, uh, one way that I like to do it is if you have a soup or a stew, when your stew is done cooking, just put your handfuls of arugula in, just like you would spinach. Put your handfuls of arugula in raw and mix it up. And then the heat from the soup or the stew will wilt the leaves. And now you get all your nutrients and it doesn't take up any space because it just wilts right down. Kind of like spinach, right? You start with a humongous mound, and then when you're done cooking it, you've got like 2 tablespoons. So, same concept. So just expect that. Um, Also, I love putting it on top of homemade pizza. So if I make a homemade pizza, I'll put fresh vegetables and some arugula on top, maybe about halfway through cooking the pizza, and it just wilts it right down. And it makes a real nice flavor contrast because of the spiciness in the leaves, along with the rest of the pizza. Warm sandwiches, those are nice too, because again, actually cold sandwiches too. So warm or cold sandwiches, whatever you want. If you want it kind of wilty, warm sandwich. If you want it nice and crisp, like instead of lettuce, then put that raw just right on your sandwich. Um, and either way, you're getting the great nutrients from it. So whatever you're doing. Um, Anyway, and also just toss it over whatever it is you're eating. So you just want a little extra, nutrients in your food. Maybe you've got a bowl of pasta or something and sauce, just toss it on top, mix it up a little. It's a great way to just add in some extra nutrients without any difficulty, really. If you're making a salad that has a bunch of other stuff in it, just toss a handful in. So every once in a while, just, whatever you're eating, just toss a handful of arugula in and get the benefits from it. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. Nutrition itself doesn't have to be overly complicated if you just give a little forethought to it and you have the ingredients on hand. That's really the key, is making sure that you have the proper ingredients on hand when you want to eat it, and have it available. So, any health concerns with arugula? And this really goes back to any leafy green potential health concern. If you are taking a blood thinner or medications for blood thinning, if you have hypothyroidism, then too much vitamin K could have a detrimental effect. And again, this is something that you want to make sure that you're talking to your registered dietitian or your doctor about before consuming greens, any kind of leafy greens, or any type of food that has a lot of vitamin K in it. So you want to make sure that you're staying within the proper boundaries, nutritional boundaries for whatever issue that you are working through. So talk to your doctor on that and make sure that you're doing okay. So that's what I've got on arugula. Again, don't replace kale, but add it together. So eat your kale and arugula together along with all your other healthy, nutritional leafy greens, and just consume them all as an overall healthy plant-based diet. And I'm sure you will see the health benefits from doing that. You will most certainly see them in your performance and your runs and just how you feel overall. I know that if I am traveling or I haven't gotten to the grocery store, quite honestly, and I run out of kale, I feel it if I don't have that in my mornings for more than a couple days. I just feel a little more sluggish. I don't have quite the same energy. I just feel like, I need greens. So your body gets used to incorporating and taking in this nutrition. And when you stop, I think that's usually when you feel it more than when you first start. I think it's more like when you consistently have these habits and then you stop them, then all of a sudden your body like takes notice and says, "Wait, wait, 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 where'd it go? What are you doing? Where is my food? Where is my greens?" So that's usually when I notice a biggest difference. But incorporate this and let me know how it's going. I would love to hear how you incorporate arugula into your plant based diet. So please share that with me over on Instagram. I'm there all the time. Sharing and reading and watching. So share with me over on Instagram and let me know how you're incorporating arugula. And then also let me know if there's a food that you want to know more about and how it is helpful to a plant based runner. And I am happy to delve deep into it and share with you what I find. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this shorter episode of the Running on Carbs podcast, and that you will join me again next week for our episode, always on Thursdays. And in the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic week. And don't forget, run your best life on carbs. I'm Coach Val, and I will see you next time. Take care.